Nir Eyal is a behavior design expert, author, and speaker whose work sits at the intersection of psychology, technology, and business. He is best known for helping people understand how habits are formed and how, depending on how they are designed, they can either drive engagement or foster distraction. Nir Eyal was born in Israel and later moved to the United States. He holds a degree from Stanford University and taught as a lecturer in the Graduate School of Business. His professional background spans several startups, giving him first-hand experience in building products that capture attention, a skill he wrote about in his first best-selling book, Hooked: How to Build Habit-Forming Products. In Hooked, Eyal explored how companies like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter use behavioral psychology to create addictive products. But after writing Hooked, Nir Eyal realized that the same psychological forces that allow companies to build user habits can also lead individuals into unwanted distractions. This insight laid the foundation for his second book, Indistractable: How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life. Published in 2019, Indistractable is a practical and research-backed guide to mastering your attention in an age of digital distraction. In a world overloaded with push notifications, social media scrolling, endless emails, and multitasking demands, Eyal presents a framework for regaining control of your time, focus, and priorities. What is Indistractable about? At its core, Indistractable is based on a simple yet powerful idea. The opposite of distraction is not focus, it's traction. According to Eyal, most people assume that distraction comes from external sources, our phones, social media, coworkers, or noisy environments. But in truth, distraction starts from within. Our internal triggers, such as boredom, stress, or anxiety, push us to seek escape, and the internet, our devices, or busy work are easy outlets. Eyal argues that to master distraction, we must first master these internal triggers. The book provides a step-by-step model that helps readers understand the psychological forces behind distraction and offers actionable strategies to stay on track. Core concepts in the book. The book is structured around 4 key strategies. 1. Master internal triggers. Learn to recognize and manage emotional discomfort instead of escaping it with distraction. 2. Make time for traction. If you don't schedule your day, someone else will. Eyal promotes time blocking and aligning your schedule with your values. 3. Hack back external triggers. Don't let emails, group chats, or smartphone alerts steal your time. Eyal shows how to reshape your environment to protect your focus. 4. Prevent distraction with pacts. Use pre-commitments like effort pacts, price pacts, and identity pacts to reinforce your intent and build self-discipline. Eyal also includes sections on how to raise distractible children, build an indestructible workplace, and foster indistractable relationships, making the book a guide for individuals, families, teams, and communities. Why Indistractable matters. Today, we live in a world where attention is currency, and distractions are engineered for profit. Social media platforms, streaming services, and even workplace tools are designed to hijack our time and fragment our focus. In this environment, becoming indestructible is not just a productivity hack, it's a life skill. Nir Eyal clarifies that the solution isn't to throw away your smartphone or reject technology. Instead, he emphasizes mindful use of tech, using it as a tool rather than letting it use you. What distinguishes Indistractable from other productivity books is its balance between science and practicality. It doesn't rely on vague motivational advice, but instead uses behavioral psychology, habit theory, and real-world case studies to help readers implement change. Notable features. Techniques based on behavioral science. Eyal draws from psychological models like the Fogg behavior model, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and habit formation research. Real-life application. Examples from parents, professionals, and tech workers make the book relatable and applicable. Workplace relevance. Insights into how distraction is embedded into modern work culture and what teams can do to fix it. Parenting guidance. A fresh take on helping children manage screen time by teaching them autonomy and responsibility rather than relying on force or control. Reception and impact. Indistractable quickly became a Wall Street Journal bestseller and received praise from industry leaders, psychologists, and productivity experts. It's been featured in outlets like Harvard Business Review, The Guardian, Fast Company, and Time magazine. Entrepreneurs, educators, and health professionals have adopted the book's principles to improve focus, mental health, and personal fulfillment. In a time when many feel overwhelmed, burnt out, and disconnected from their goals, Indistractable offers a timely and empowering message. You can't call something a distraction unless you know what it's distracting you from. By helping readers reclaim their attention and align their actions with their values, Nir Eyal doesn't just show us how to resist distraction and live a more intentional, fulfilling life. Part 1. Master Internal Triggers. In Part 1 of Indistractable, Nir Eyal tackles the root of distraction by challenging the common perception that it stems from external sources. He argues that before truly managing distractions, we must first understand and master the internal triggers, those emotional states that push us to seek escape, comfort, or stimulation. This part of the book is foundational because it reveals that distraction is not just a product of modern technology, but rather of our timeless, evolutionary drive to avoid discomfort. 1. What motivates us? Eyal opens with a critical observation. Human behavior is not driven by pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain, as traditionally suggested. Instead, he asserts, all motivation stems from the desire to alleviate discomfort. This includes not only physical pain, but, more importantly, psychological discomfort, boredom, anxiety, loneliness, frustration, uncertainty, and even hunger or fatigue. This concept stems from the idea of homeostasis, a biological principle suggesting that organisms strive to maintain a balanced, stable internal environment. When something disrupts this balance, we take action to correct it. For instance, when we're cold, we seek warmth. When we're hungry, we eat. Eyal extends this principle to the psychological realm, arguing that we scroll social media, check email, or binge-watch shows, not just for fun, but to numb or escape unpleasant emotions. The implications are profound. Distractions are not random. They are emotional pacifiers. This insight leads to the understanding that to become indistractable, one must become more aware of the underlying emotion that leads to distraction. Whether it's stress, loneliness, or fear of missing out, these internal discomforts drive us toward behaviors that offer immediate relief, even if they divert us from our long-term goals. 2. Time management is pain management. In the next chapter, Eyal builds on this premise by stating that managing your time effectively is essentially about managing your emotional discomfort. Distraction, he says, is always an attempt to escape something painful, even if that pain is simply the tedium of a task or the anxiety of starting a challenging project. Most productivity strategies fail because they ignore this emotional dimension. Instead of focusing on willpower, discipline, or better apps, Eyal suggests a more insightful approach. Deal directly with the discomfort that drives distraction. He introduces the reader to 4 key psychological strategies for dealing with internal triggers. 1. Look for the discomfort that precedes the distraction. Before managing distraction, we must recognize what we're trying to avoid. Every distraction has a trigger, and it usually comes from within. Eyal encourages readers to focus on their inner dialogue, what emotions or thoughts occur before they check their phone or switch tasks. Noticing these moments builds awareness and gives us a chance to intervene. 2. Write down the trigger. Keeping a distraction tracker or journal can be powerful. When a person gets off task, they should log what they were doing, what they felt, and what triggered the urge to stop. This builds a pattern over time, helping identify consistent emotional triggers. The goal isn't to eliminate emotion, but to understand it and respond more intentionally. 3. Explore the sensation with curiosity. Instead of contempt, instead of beating yourself up for getting distracted, Eyal recommends exploring the feeling with curiosity. This idea is borrowed from acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, which teaches that trying to suppress emotions only strengthens them. Instead, Eyal suggests practicing surfing the urge, noticing the sensation, sitting with it, and letting it pass like a wave. This method is based on the 10-minute rule. When an urge to do something distracting arises, Tell yourself you'll wait 10 minutes. Often, the impulse passes. 4. Be kind to yourself. Self-compassion is far more effective than self-criticism. Studies show that people who are kind to themselves are more resilient, more motivated, and less likely to procrastinate. Rather than calling yourself lazy or weak, Eyal recommends treating yourself like a friend, acknowledging the struggle without judgment. These strategies emphasize the need for emotional agility, the capacity to recognize, accept, and act constructively in the face of emotional discomfort. If we can better manage our responses to pain, boredom, and uncertainty, we are less likely to seek distraction and more likely to stay on task. Third, deal with distraction from within. In the final chapter of Part 1, Eyal deepens the discussion on managing internal triggers by shifting our mindset. The key message here is that distraction is not caused by the trigger itself, but by how we respond to it. Our relationship with discomfort, not the discomfort itself, determines whether we stay on track or veer off course. Eyal introduces an important concept, cognitive fusion, a psychological phenomenon in which people become entangled with their thoughts. For example, thinking "I'm bored" becomes "I need to do something else now," which leads directly to distraction. Eyal emphasizes the need to create space between stimulus and response. Recognizing that a thought is just a thought, not a command, is a powerful step toward freedom. To support this process, Eyal introduces techniques to reframe and rewire our perception of discomfort. Reimagine the trigger. Instead of seeing internal discomfort as a sign to stop, reframe it as a signal to push forward. Discomfort can be a cue to lean into focus, much like an athlete goes through fatigue. Reimagine the task. We often dread tasks, not because they are hard, but because we perceive them as boring or unpleasant. By tweaking how we view a task, e.g., turning it into a game, introducing a small reward, or adding novelty, we can make it more engaging and reduce the urge to escape. Reimagine your identity. Eyal suggests that adopting a new identity, such as thinking of yourself as an indestructible person, can reinforce better behavior. Just as people who identify as vegetarians don't see meat as an option, those who identify as indistractable are less likely to give in to distractions. This part of the book concludes with the powerful idea that attention management is not about avoiding technology, but developing the self-awareness and psychological strength to manage the feelings that lead to distraction. When we become conscious of our internal state, we can choose traction over distraction, and our behavior aligns more closely with our intentions and values. In Part 1, Master Internal Triggers, Nir Eyal lays the psychological groundwork for becoming indistractable. He dismantles the myth that external distractions are the main culprit and shows that our emotional discomfort drives lost time and focus. By introducing a blend of behavioral psychology, habit science, and practical exercises, Eyal empowers readers to address the root cause of distraction, the internal triggers we often ignore or avoid. This section is not just informative, it's transformative. It teaches readers that the path to regaining focus doesn't start by deleting apps or buying productivity tools. It starts with looking inward. By building emotional awareness, reframing our discomfort, and responding intentionally, we can reclaim control over our attention and, ultimately, our lives. Part 2. Make time for traction. In Part 2 of Indistractable, Nir Eyal shifts from exploring the psychological roots of distraction to offering a practical framework for aligning our actions with our values. The central premise of this section is that to avoid distraction, we must make time for traction, the deliberate, intentional actions that move us closer to what truly matters. Distraction, after all, can only be understood in contrast to traction. We can't know when we're being distracted if we don't define what distraction looks like in our daily lives. Eyal emphasizes that being indistractable is about forethought, not willpower. Rather than relying on reactive measures to avoid distraction, we must proactively design our time and lives around what matters most. This part includes 4 chapters that gradually build a system to help us do that. Chapter 4. Turn your values into time. Eyal begins with a powerful assertion. You can't call something a distraction unless you know what it's distracting you from. Without a clear definition of what we want from our time, we're vulnerable to being pulled in countless directions. The key here is to turn your values into time. Values, unlike goals, are attributes of the person you want to be. For example, being a good spouse, a caring parent, a productive team member, or a healthy individual. These values should serve as the basis for how we allocate our time. To do this, Eyal recommends a methodical approach called time boxing. Time boxing involves planning your day and assigning a specific task or activity to every hour or portion of the day. It transforms vague intentions, "I'll work on the report sometime today," into concrete plans. "I'll work on the report from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Time boxing has two essential benefits. 1. Clarity. You know exactly what you should do and when. 2. Boundaries. You can assess whether something is a distraction by comparing it to your schedule. Eyal stresses that the goal is not perfection, but alignment. The measure of success is not whether you completed every task, but whether you did what you intended to do. If you plan to relax and watch Netflix and you did that, it's not a distraction, it's traction. He suggests dividing your calendar into 3 domains: you, personal time, self-care, hobbies; relationships, family, friends, intimate connections; work, deep work, meetings, admin. By allocating time to each domain, we ensure that our values reflect how we spend our hours. Eyal even recommends using scheduling tools, like Google Calendar, to create recurring time boxes for habits and responsibilities. Another key insight is that time boxing doesn't restrict freedom, it creates it. Many people resist structure, believing it hinders spontaneity. But in truth, not planning our time often results in reactivity, not freedom. True freedom is being able to live according to your values, and that requires structure. Chapter 5. Control the inputs, not the outcomes. In this chapter, Eyal highlights a major cause of dissatisfaction and distraction, focusing too much on outcomes rather than inputs. Goals like get a promotion, write a best-selling book, or lose 20 pounds can be demotivating because they often lie outside our immediate control. We're more likely to get distracted when slow progress or uncertainty arises. Instead, he suggests we shift our attention to what we can control, our inputs. This means focusing on the effort and time we invest, not the result. For example, instead of worrying about how many words you'll write, time box 60 minutes to write daily. Instead of fixating on sales numbers, dedicate time to consistent outreach or creative work. Instead of tracking weight obsessively, track workouts or meal planning. This reframing has 2 powerful effects. 1. It reduces anxiety and perfectionism, which are common internal triggers for distraction. 2. It increases satisfaction and momentum by rewarding consistency and progress. Eyal also discusses metrics for self-accountability. While external metrics, like deadlines or performance reviews, are helpful, internal consistency, like sticking to your time-boxed schedule, can be even more powerful. When we succeed at doing what we plan, we build trust in ourselves, which reinforces our indestructible identity. He quotes the behavioral psychologist B.J. Fogg, who says, "You change your life when you change your identity." The more we see ourselves as the type of person who follows through, the more consistent we become. In addition, Eyal touches on the power of iteration. Time boxing doesn't need to be static. At the end of each week, he suggests reviewing your time-boxed schedule. What worked? What didn't? What can be adjusted? This adaptive loop turns productivity from a rigid plan into a responsive practice that evolves with your real needs and circumstances. Chapter 6. Schedule important relationships. This chapter addresses a common pitfall. While most people plan their work tasks, they rarely schedule time for their relationships. This often leads to neglecting loved ones or passive consumption, e.g., scrolling instead of meaningful conversation. Eyal reminds us that relationships are a core part of our identity and well-being, yet modern life often relegates them to leftovers. If we truly value connection, love, and belonging, we need to treat them with the same importance we give to meetings and deadlines. He recommends a few practices: regularly time-box family activities, meals, date nights, playtime with children, etc. Use shared calendars. This helps align schedules and set expectations with your partner or family. Be present. Avoid multitasking during time with others. Checking your phone during dinner signals that the person across from you is less important than a notification. This chapter offers touching insight into Eyal's personal experience scheduling weekly chats with his daughter. These intentional, device-free sessions became invaluable bonding moments. He emphasizes that relationships don't flourish in the margins of our time. They thrive when given space and focus. Eyal also addresses friendships. In adulthood, many friendships wither simply due to neglect. He encourages readers to schedule recurring time with friends, whether virtual or short. As with all areas of life, intentionality makes the difference. Ultimately, he shows that distraction isn't just about productivity, it's about presence. Being fully present for the people we love is one of the most powerful expressions of being indestructible. Chapter 7. Sync with stakeholders at work. The final chapter in Part 2 turns to the workplace, one of the most distraction-prone environments. Eyal argues that most work distractions are culturally driven, not tech-driven. Tools don't cause constant emails, last-minute meetings, and reactive communication. A lack of alignment and communication causes them. Eyal proposes a strategy to fix this. Regular schedule synchronization meetings with your manager or key stakeholders. Here's how it works. Share your time-boxed schedule for the week with your boss or supervisor. Show them how your time is aligned with your priorities and responsibilities. Invite feedback. Are you focusing on the right tasks? Is there anything they think is missing? This exercise does 3 things. 1. Creates transparency. Your manager sees how you plan to spend your time. 2. Builds alignment. You reduce the risk of working on the wrong things. 3. Provides leverage. If your manager wants to add something new, they must help you decide what to deprioritize. This conversation reclaims a sense of control over your calendar and reduces unplanned demands that lead to distraction. It also builds trust and communication between employees and managers. Eyal reinforces that most managers don't want their teams to be overwhelmed or burned out. They lack visibility into how time is being spent. Proactively sharing your schedule and discussing your workload makes collaboration more intentional and sustainable. This strategy can also be scaled to group settings for teams, ensuring everyone is aligned and working with fewer interruptions. Part 2 of Indistractable is a practical blueprint for transforming how we manage our time. Nir Eyal's message is clear. If you don't plan your day, someone else will. Distraction thrives in unstructured time. But with a calendar built around your values, you can protect your focus, increase your satisfaction, and create a life of traction, not reaction. This part is both empowering and liberating. It doesn't demand that we do more. It demands that we act with purpose. Whether you're a student, a parent, a CEO, or a freelancer, Eyal's strategies are universally applicable. He offers a system that's flexible yet firm, structured yet human. Perhaps most importantly, he reminds us that our time is our life, and every moment spent in distraction is a moment we don't get back. Part 3. Hack back. External triggers. In Indistractable, Nir Eyal dedicates Part 3 to one of the most visibly discussed sources of distraction in modern life: external triggers. These are the pings, dings, rings, and interruptions that seem to dictate our behavior from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed. However, Eyal challenges the common belief that external triggers are entirely to blame for our loss of focus. Instead, he argues that these triggers are not inherently bad. They can lead to traction or distraction depending on how we respond. The real problem isn't the trigger, but our unquestioning reaction. This section unfolds methodically, with each chapter focused on a particular realm of life: smartphones, desktops, email, group chat, meetings, and even news and social media. The structure reflects Eyal's practical orientation. He doesn't just explain what's wrong. Still, he offers a step-by-step method to hack back each trigger, reclaiming attention, intention, and, ultimately, our time. Chapter 8. Hack back work. Interruptions. Eyal opens this section by exploring the workplace, where interruptions are often glorified as signs of busyness or responsiveness. Unfortunately, these interruptions come at a cost. He cites research showing that it takes more than 20 minutes to fully regain focus after an interruption, even if the distraction is just a few minutes long. He discusses 2 types of work interruptions: 1, synchronous, In-person, calls, immediate responses expected. 2. Asynchronous, emails, Slack messages, notifications. The synchronous ones are particularly destructive, especially in open office plans, where people are expected to be accessible all the time. Eyal encourages us to remember that always available is not the same as always productive. To hack back work interruptions, he suggests using a visual cue to signal you're focused. One example is a screen sign that says, "I'm focusing right now. Please come back later." Creating office norms. Teams should agree on signals for deep work versus interruptible states. Scheduling office hours. Eyal borrowed this from academia. Setting specific hours when you're available for drop-in allows you to focus during other times without guilt or confusion. This approach is not just about protecting your time, but also about respecting others' time. Distractions, he notes, are often social contagions. When one person constantly interrupts, others follow. Creating a focused work culture starts with modeling it and offering alternatives that allow collaboration. Chapter 9. Hack back email. Email is one of the most persistent sources of distraction. According to Eyal, many knowledge workers spend up to a third of their day checking email, and much of that time is reactive, unproductive, and driven by anxiety. The problem isn't email itself, it's how we manage it. Eyal presents a three-part strategy for hacking back email. 1. Reduce the total number of emails you receive. This can be achieved by sending fewer emails and crafting emails that reduce unnecessary back and forth. For example, ask yes/no questions instead of open-ended ones. Use bullets and clear formatting to make replies easier. Include your availability in the message to avoid scheduling ping-pong. 2. Spend less time on each email. Avoid overthinking or over-polishing emails. Use templates for common replies. Remember that not every email requires a response. Eyal introduces the concept of satisficing over perfecting, sending a good enough response rather than an ideal one. 3. Process email during dedicated time blocks. Rather than checking email constantly, create email checking windows, preferably 2 to 3 blocks a day, e.g., morning, afternoon, end of day. Use tools like autoresponders to let people know when to expect a reply. This helps prevent compulsive checking, which often stems from uncertainty and anxiety. The goal isn't to eliminate email, it's to change your relationship with it. Email should serve you, not the other way around. You become indistractable not by ignoring email, but by being intentional about how and when you interact with it. Chapter 10. Hack back group. Group chat tools like Slack, Microsoft Teams, and others have become staples of modern workplaces. But Eyal warns that when used improperly, they become glorified distraction machines, pulling people away from focused work with incessant pings and the pressure to respond immediately. He proposes several principles for hacking back group chat. Set clear expectations. Team norms should include response time windows, e.g., replies expected within 24 hours, not minutes, and deep work blocks when chat apps are silenced. Create a dedicated no chat time. Encourage team-wide focus periods. Some companies even shut down Slack during certain hours. Use asynchronous communication when possible. Instead of chat, encourage use of shared documents or project management tools for status updates and discussions that don't need immediate feedback. Eyal's core message here is that communication needs to be deliberate. Just because technology allows constant connection doesn't mean we should always be connected. Thoughtful communication beats fast communication, especially when creativity or critical thinking is required. He also reminds readers to turn off unnecessary chat notifications, a practical yet often ignored step that can dramatically reduce the number of distractions they experience daily. Chapter 11. Hackback meetings. Perhaps no aspect of work is more reviled or abused than meetings. Eyal calls them one of the most time-wasting external triggers, especially when they're unnecessary, poorly run, or frequently scheduled. He suggests a firm rule to reclaim your time. Never accept a meeting without a clear agenda. Meetings should answer, what is the purpose of the meeting? What decisions need to be made? What is each person's role? If these aren't clear, you should push back or ask for clarification. This isn't about being difficult. It's about valuing everyone's time, including yours. He also recommends standing meetings. These tend to be shorter and more focused. Using collaboration tools instead of meetings. Many updates can be done asynchronously through shared documents or tools like Trello or Asana. Batching meetings. Clustering meetings together, e.g., all on one afternoon, can protect large chunks of the day for focused work. The point is not to eliminate all meetings. Some are valuable and necessary. The goal is to ensure that every meeting is worth the time it consumes. Chapter 12. Hack back your smartphone. Smartphones have become the symbol of modern distraction, but Eyal argues that blaming phones misses the point. The device isn't inherently distracting. It's how we use it and fail to use it deliberately. He recommends the following steps to hack back your smartphone. 1. Delete unnecessary apps. Remove apps that don't serve your values. Social media, games, and news apps are often better accessed on desktop browsers when time is limited. 2. Rearrange your home screen. Place only essential apps on the home screen, such as calendar, maps, or health apps, and hide everything else in folders or multiple swipes away. This reduces visual triggers. Third, turn off non-essential notifications. Eyal strongly advocates turning off almost all notifications except calls or calendar reminders. He even suggests keeping your phone on Do Not Disturb mode most of the time, with emergency exceptions. 4. Use tech hygiene practices. Avoid using your phone in bed or during meals. Design physical environments, like the bedroom or dinner table, for phone-free zones. Use tools like screen timers or app blockers if needed. He also introduces the idea of a phone fasting box, a simple container to place your phone in during deep work, meals, or family time. Just as fasting clears your system, tech fasting clears your mind. These steps don't make you anti-tech. They make you conscious. Eyal emphasizes that it's about regaining control over the device, rather than being controlled by it. Chapter 13. Hack back your desktop. Most knowledge work happens on computers, especially desktops and laptops. Ironically, these are also places where distraction thrives through pop-ups, badges, and tabs. Eyal's strategy for hacking back your desktop includes decluttering the desktop. A messy digital workspace invites distraction. He suggests minimizing desktop icons and organizing files. Using full-screen mode, this hides other tabs and applications, keeping your attention on a single task. Blocking distracting websites. Tools like Freedom, Self-Control, or Stay Focused can prevent access to time-wasting sites during deep work sessions. Turning off desktop notifications. As with smartphones, most notifications are unnecessary and counterproductive. They should be off by default. He also encourages using a dedicated browser for work and another for personal use. This separation helps condition focus and reduces the chance of mindlessly clicking on unrelated tabs. Ultimately, your desktop should be a tool for traction, not temptation. With a few modifications, you can turn your computer into a place that supports, rather than sabotages, your attention. Chapter 14. Hack back online articles. The internet is full of valuable knowledge, but also endless distractions. Eyal acknowledges that it's easy to fall into the rabbit hole of link clicking and article hopping, especially when one article leads to another with sensational headlines or clickbait. To hack back online reading, he suggests, using read-it-later apps like Pocket or Instapaper allows you to save articles for intentional reading later, rather than impulsively interrupting your current task. Time-boxing reading sessions. Allocate specific time on your calendar for reading or learning, rather than letting articles derail your work or evening. Setting up filters. Use RSS feeds or email digests to get content from trusted sources, avoiding algorithmic distractions from platforms like Google Discover or Twitter feeds. The principle is simple. Information is only useful if it's intentional. Passive consumption weakens attention, while curated, scheduled reading strengthens it. Chapter 15. Hack back feeds. In this chapter, Eyal addresses one of the most addictive elements of digital life: algorithmic content feeds on social media and video platforms. He describes them as bottomless bowls designed never to end. Unlike books or movies, which have natural stopping points, feeds are engineered to keep you scrolling. To hack back feeds. Remove apps from your phone. As mentioned earlier, accessing social media only on desktop reduces impulsive use. Use browser extensions. Tools like Newsfeed Eradicator can hide your Facebook feed, allowing you to use the platform without distraction. Access through bookmarks, not search. This bypasses the homepage feed entirely and gets you to the group, page, or message you intend to visit. Time box social media use. Allocate fixed blocks, e.g., 15 minutes per day, to social media and treat them as recreational time. Eyal isn't anti-social media. He emphasizes that these platforms can offer real connection, creativity, and joy, but only when they serve your values, not when they hijack your time. Part 3 of Indistractable is both a manifesto and a manual. It calls on readers to stop blaming technology and redesign their digital environment to support their intentions. The underlying message is empowerment. You don't have to be a victim of distractions. You can hack back. Each chapter is filled with tactical, easy-to-implement changes that anyone can adopt. But beyond the tactics, Eyal asks us to change how we think. Distraction is not caused solely by external noise. It thrives when we let that noise override our own choices. By turning off notifications, restructuring environments, setting expectations, and being proactive, we can reduce or eliminate the triggers that steal our focus. It's not about perfection, but about agency. Being indestructible means making technology work for you, not against you. It means building a life where external triggers align with your internal goals and where attention is something you choose to give, not something that is constantly taken. Part 4. Prevent distraction with pacts. In Part 4 of Indistractable, Nir Eyal introduces a powerful concept for maintaining focus and intention in a world full of temptations: pacts. We make pre-commitments with ourselves or others to keep us on track. While earlier sections of the book focused on understanding internal triggers, scheduling time for traction, and hacking back external triggers, this part is about building a last line of defense, tools that kick in when everything else might fail. Distraction often wins, not because we don't know what to do, but because we allow impulses to override intention in moments of weakness. Pacts provide a psychological safeguard that helps us follow through when motivation wanes or willpower dips. Eyal draws on psychology, behavioral economics, and his own experiences to show how we can use these pacts to remain indistractable. He breaks down pacts into 3 major types. 1. Effort. Pacts. 2. Price. Pacts. 3. Identity pacts. Each has its unique advantages and best use scenarios. Let's explore them in depth. Effort pacts, making distractions more difficult. Effort pacts are based on a simple behavioral insight. If something becomes harder, we're less likely to do it. These pacts don't remove distractions. Instead, they place obstacles between us and the behavior we want to avoid. Even small increases in friction can dramatically reduce undesirable actions. For example, Eyal recounts how he used to check Facebook compulsively during writing sessions. By installing an app blocker that made it take 10 seconds and several clicks to access Facebook, he found that the inconvenience disrupted the automatic habit. That brief pause gave his rational brain time to catch up and ask, "Do I want to do this now?" Some other examples of effort pacts include logging out of social media and removing saved passwords, requiring manual logins, using app blockers that require completing a task, like typing out a reason, before granting access, placing the TV remote or smartphone in another room or a lockbox with a timer. The brilliance of the effort pact lies in its subtlety. They don't rely on brute force or willpower. Instead, they tweak the environment to make distractions less seamless and more deliberate. Eyal points out that distractions thrive on convenience. By making distractions harder, we buy time for rational decision-making to intervene. Effort pacts can also be used positively, reducing friction for desired behaviors. Want to read more? Place a book on your pillow. Want to meditate? Set up a cushion in your favorite chair. These acts aren't complicated, but they profoundly affect how we do. Eyal also encourages readers to design micro-frictions that discourage distraction in critical moments. For example, putting the phone on airplane mode during family dinners or work sprints. Over time, these intentional barriers build focus habits and remove decision fatigue from moments of temptation. Price pacts, attaching a financial cost to distraction. The second type of pact, the price pact, is about placing a financial cost on your distractions. This approach is rooted in the idea that we're often more motivated by the fear of loss than the potential for gain. a principle known in behavioral economics as loss aversion. Eyal suggests that when we attach money to our commitments, we give ourselves a powerful incentive to stay on track. Price packs are particularly useful for behaviors that you want to avoid or eliminate, things that harm your long-term values but feel rewarding in the short term. To illustrate this, Eyal shares a personal story. He made a pact that every time he failed to complete a writing session, he'd donate money to a cause he didn't support. This twist added emotional weight to the financial cost, making failure more painful than the temporary reward of distraction. There are many ways to implement price pacts. Using commitment platforms like Stick or BeMinder, where you put money on the line that gets donated if you don't meet your goals. Making informal pacts with friends or family, where you agree to pay a penalty if you miss a deadline or break a commitment. Setting up anti-charity donations, where the money goes to an organization whose values you disagree with. The beauty of a price pact is that it externalizes accountability. Suddenly, your success or failure isn't just a personal matter, it has tangible, visible consequences. This can be a powerful driver, especially when paired with public accountability. However, Eyal warns that price pacts work best when used sparingly and strategically. Overuse can create anxiety or resistance, especially if the stakes are too high or the goals are unrealistic. The key is to choose achievable but meaningful commitments, pacts that stretch you but don't paralyze you. He also cautions that price pacts are most effective for well-defined behaviors, not vague aspirations. For instance, I will write for 60 minutes at 8 a.m. every weekday is better than I will write more. When used well, price pacts turn our psychology in our favor. Instead of relying on fleeting motivation, we rely on consequences that shape consistent action. Identity pacts, becoming the kind of person who doesn't get distracted. The third and most profound type of pact is the identity pact. Here, Eyal draws from behavioral science and ancient philosophy to argue that our self-image is the most powerful predictor of our behavior. When we see ourselves a certain way, we align with that identity. So, to change what we do, we must first change how we see ourselves. The core idea of the identity pact is to internalize a new self-concept, one that reinforces your values and desired behaviors. In this case, the identity is, I am indestructible. This label isn't just aspirational, it's practical. When we adopt it, we give ourselves a compass for decision-making. In moments of temptation or fatigue, our identity reminds us of who we are and how we act. Just as vegetarians don't eat meat because they are vegetarians, not because they resist meat every time, indistractable people avoid distraction because it's simply not who they are. Eyal encourages readers to embrace their identity by declaring it publicly. Sharing with colleagues or family that you're working on being indistractable helps solidify the commitment. Using the language, say I'm indistractable instead of I'm trying not to be distracted. Words shape thoughts, and thoughts shape actions. Creating environmental reinforcements can include wearing a wristband or setting visual reminders, reinforcing your new identity. Being kind to yourself when you slip. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Reframing setbacks as learning opportunities strengthens identity over time. This section draws heavily on psychological research, including studies that show people who adopt noun identities, like I'm a runner versus I run, are far more consistent in their habits. Identity isn't just a mindset, it's a behavioral scaffold that gives meaning and structure to our actions. Eyal also reflects on how labeling ourselves can have downsides if used negatively. For example, telling yourself, I have no self-control, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why identity pacts must be intentional and empowering. They are the foundation of the indestructible life. The role of self-compassion impacts. Throughout Part 4, Eyal emphasizes an often overlooked factor in personal change, self-compassion. While pacts can be powerful, they can also backfire if used in a punitive or perfectionistic way. The key, he argues, is to use pacts as guardrails, not whips. He reminds readers that slipping doesn't mean failing. Every behavior change journey includes missteps. What matters is how we respond. Do we shame ourselves and spiral into distraction, or do we reflect, adjust, and recommit? He draws from the work of Kristen Neff and others who show that self-compassionate people are more likely to recover from setbacks and persist with their goals. They also experience less anxiety and burnout, making them more resilient over the long term. Eyal also challenges the ego depletion myth, the idea that willpower is a finite resource that runs out. He cites newer research suggesting that belief in ego depletion causes it. We're more likely to behave accordingly if we see ourselves as having control and resilience. This ties directly into the identity pact. What you believe about yourself shapes your actions. So, rather than beating yourself up for breaking a pact, treat it as data. Why did it happen? Was the pact too rigid? Was the trigger internal or external? What can you change next time? This reflective approach strengthens your self-regulating ability without relying solely on force or fear. Stacking the pacts. Toward the end of Part 4, Eyal suggests that the most effective approach is often a combination of all three pacts. Each has a specific role. Effort pacts help slow down impulsive behaviors in the heat of the moment. Price pacts increase commitment by raising the stakes of failure. Identity pacts create a long-term mindset that sustains change over time. Together, they form a layered defense system, each reinforcing the others. When identity shapes intention, effort pacts delay distraction, and price pacts hold you accountable, the likelihood of staying on track increases dramatically. He encourages readers to experiment and adapt the pacts to fit their lives. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. The key is to find what works for you, and to remember that indistractability is a skill, not a fixed trait. Part 4 of Indistractable offers readers a toolkit for avoiding distraction and becoming focused, present, and in control. By understanding our psychological triggers and crafting intentional pacts, we can resist temptations not with brute force, but with structure and foresight. Eyal's approach is refreshingly pragmatic. He doesn't preach discipline for its own sake. Instead, he shows how innovative systems beat sheer willpower. The result is a productivity philosophy rooted in self-knowledge, environmental design, and compassionate commitment. These pacts are not about rigidity, they're about freedom. They help us escape the tyranny of impulsivity and reclaim the agency to live lives aligned with our values. In a world increasingly designed to hijack our attention, these tools give us a way to push back, not just to survive, but to thrive with intention. Part 5. How to make your workplace indistractable. In this part, Eyal emphasizes that workplace distractions are often symptoms of deeper organizational issues, rather than individual shortcomings or technological nuisances. He identifies 3 critical insights to address and mitigate distractions in professional settings. 1. Distraction is a sign of dysfunction. Eyal posits that persistent work distractions often indicate underlying dysfunctions within the organization. He argues that technology is not the root cause. Instead, it manifests deeper issues, such as unclear expectations, lack of autonomy, and inadequate communication. Employees who feel overwhelmed or undervalued may resort to distractions as coping mechanisms. Thus, addressing the root causes requires thoroughly examining company culture and internal processes. 2. Fixing distraction is a test of company culture. The author underscores that a company's culture significantly influences its employees' ability to focus. Organizations that prioritize open communication, provide clear objectives, and respect employees' time foster environments where individuals can concentrate on meaningful work. Conversely, cultures that glorify constant availability and multitasking can lead to burnout and decreased productivity. Eyal suggests that leaders should model indistractable behaviors, such as setting boundaries for communication and encouraging deep work periods, to cultivate a culture that values focus. 3. The indistractable workplace. Creating an indistractable workplace involves implementing practices that support focused work and minimize unnecessary interruptions. Eyal recommends strategies such as establishing clear communication norms, define appropriate channels and times for communication to prevent constant disruptions, implementing focus time policies, encourage periods during the day when employees can work without interruptions, signaling respect for deep work, promoting autonomy and ownership, allow employees to control their schedules and tasks, increasing engagement and reducing the urge to seek distractions. Providing training and resources. Equip teams with tools and knowledge to manage their attention and prioritize tasks effectively. Organizations can enhance productivity and employee satisfaction by addressing the systemic issues that lead to distraction and fostering a culture that values focused work. Understanding the root causes of distraction. Eyal begins by challenging common misconceptions about children's distractibility. He argues that blaming technology is an oversimplification. Instead, distractions often stem from unmet psychological needs. Drawing parallels to how the human body requires nutrients, Eyal introduces the concept of psychological nutrients essential for children's well-being. 1. Autonomy, the need to feel in control of one's actions. 2. Competence, the need to feel effective and capable. 3. Relatedness, the need to feel connected to others. When these needs aren't met, children may seek fulfillment through distractions, often turning to technology as a coping mechanism. Addressing the internal triggers that lead to distraction is crucial to helping children become indestructible. This involves creating an environment where their psychological needs are met. Fostering autonomy. Allow children to choose their activities and schedules. This sense of control can reduce the allure of distractions. Building competence. Encourage activities that help children develop skills and experience success, boosting their confidence. Enhancing relatedness. Facilitate meaningful social interactions, ensuring children feel connected and valued. By nurturing these aspects, children are less likely to seek distractions to compensate for unmet needs. Implementing time boxing. Eyal introduces time boxing to help children manage their time and focus on tasks. Time boxing involves allocating specific time slots for various activities, including leisure and screen time. By involving children in creating their schedules, they gain a sense of ownership and responsibility. This collaborative approach reduces resistance and helps children understand the value of balancing different activities. It also teaches them to prioritize tasks and manage their time effectively. Managing external triggers. External triggers, such as notifications and environmental cues, can significantly impact children's focus. Eyal emphasizes the importance of helping children identify and manage these triggers. Creating distraction-free zones, designate specific areas or times where devices are not allowed, promoting focused activities. Customizing notifications, teach children to adjust device settings to minimize unnecessary interruptions. Modeling behavior. Parents should exemplify indistractable behavior, effectively demonstrating how to manage external triggers. By proactively addressing external distractions, children can develop better concentration and self-control. Establishing pacts. Eyal discusses the use of pacts as a strategy to prevent distraction. These are pre-commitments that help children stay focused. Effort pacts introduce small obstacles to make distractions less accessible, such as storing devices in another room during homework. Price pacts implement consequences for giving in to distractions like losing certain privileges. Identity pacts encourage children to see themselves as focused individuals, reinforcing positive self-perception. These pacts empower children to take responsibility for their actions and understand the importance of self-discipline. Raising indistractable children involves more than limiting screen time. It's about understanding and addressing the underlying psychological needs that drive distraction. By fostering autonomy, competence, and relatedness, implementing structured time management, managing external triggers, and establishing pacts, parents can equip their children with the skills necessary to focus and thrive in a world of distractions. The impact of distraction on relationships. In today's digital age, the omnipresence of devices has introduced new challenges to our interpersonal relationships. Eyal emphasizes that distractions, particularly from smartphones and other gadgets, can erode the quality of our interactions with loved ones. When we allow external triggers to interrupt our conversations or shared moments, we risk conveying a message that the person in front of us is less important than the device in our hands. This constant partial attention can lead to feelings of neglect and weaken the bonds we share with others. Strategies for indistractable relationships. To cultivate deeper and more meaningful relationships, Eyal suggests several practical strategies. 1. Addressing device distractions in social settings. When someone uses a device during a social interaction, it's essential to approach the situation with empathy and curiosity. Instead of reacting with frustration, consider asking, "I see you're on your phone, is everything okay?" This non-confrontational question opens a dialogue and allows the other person to explain or recognize the distraction. Such gentle prompts can raise awareness and encourage more mindful engagement. 2. Creating tech-free zones and times. Designate specific areas or times where device usage is minimized or eliminated. For instance, removing devices from the bedroom can promote better sleep and more intimate connections. Similarly, setting boundaries like having the internet automatically turn off at a specific time can encourage family members to engage in offline activities together. 3. Scheduling quality time. Intentionality is key to nurturing relationships. We signal their importance in our lives by scheduling regular, distraction-free time with loved ones, weekly dinners, date nights, or family outings. This planned quality time ensures that relationships are prioritized amidst the hustle of daily routines. 4. Establishing social norms. Around device usage. Openly discussing and agreeing upon norms regarding device usage can set clear expectations. For example, friends might agree to keep phones away during meals, or couples might decide to limit screen time during certain hours. By collectively establishing these norms, everyone becomes accountable, fostering an environment where presence is valued. 5. Modeling indistractable behavior. Leading by example can have a profound impact. When we demonstrate attentive listening and prioritize face-to-face interactions over digital distractions, we set a standard for others to follow. This modeling can inspire peers, partners, and family members to adopt similar behaviors, enhancing the overall quality of relationships. Distractions, while pervasive, need not dictate the quality of our relationships. By recognizing the impact of divided attention and implementing deliberate strategies, we can foster deeper, more meaningful connections. Eyal's insights in this section remind us that being fully present is one of the most valuable gifts we can offer to those we care about. Conclusion: being indistractable. In the final section of Indistractable, Nir Eyal presents a compelling call to action. Becoming indistractable isn't about perfection, it's about intention. He reminds readers that distraction is not a character flaw, but a challenge that can be understood and managed. By reflecting on the lessons throughout the book, Eyal provides a holistic framework for how individuals can take control of their attention and live a more purpose-driven life. Reclaiming control in a distracted world. Eyal emphasizes that living in the digital age does not doom us to a distracted existence. Rather than blaming technology or the modern world for stealing our focus, we must look inward and understand why we allow ourselves to be distracted. At its core, distraction is an emotional response. We use it to escape discomfort, whether boredom, anxiety, or insecurity. The key to becoming indistractable lies in recognizing that distraction is often a symptom, not the root cause. Through intentional reflection, planning, and behavior change, we can redirect our attention toward what truly matters. In a world filled with more distractions than ever, Eyal's message is clear. Distraction is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. By using the tools he outlines, anyone can regain control over their time and attention. Being indistractable means living with intention, aligning your behaviors with your values, and creating an environment, internal and external, that supports your goals. It's not about avoiding technology. It's about using it wisely. It's not about rigid self-discipline. It's about understanding yourself and designing systems that support your best self. Ultimately, becoming indistractable means reclaiming the power to live the life you choose, free from constant interruption and full of purpose.